Let's take the battle to the fascists. Let's not wait for them to do whatever. Let's do everything that looks likely to advance the force of democracy against the force of fascism that is showing its face pretty openly right now in the American political system. This is something that there's no point in waiting at all to say everything, whatever will have the most powerful impact on the beneficial impact on the public mind and on the balance of power between democracy and fascism. If there's something stronger to say or a more powerful way of saying it that creates the confrontation that would have a beneficial effect on the balance of things, it should be done. It should be said. Nothing more powerful that would be more effective should be left undone. I don't think, I can't think of a single time that liberal America has gone overboard in the direction of too belligerent, too making unnecessary conflict, too unreasonable. No, it's always been in the other direction. And it's been troubling, actually, to see how liberalism seems to keep on throwing up strategies that are avoidant of conflict. Like the bully is sort of pushing on the victim, and the victim is moving in the direction of trying to avoid getting knocked or whatever by the bully. Liberalism has sort of shrunk from battles that I could have, that I would like to have seen the spirit that says, no, I draw the line there. The Mueller report, Mueller, I thought was going to be, this Boy Scout soldier hero, Mr. Upright, people spoke of him. So I just felt like he was going to. But we now understand, or at least I've heard several times, that in some ways, he trimmed his sails because he was afraid of being fired by Trump or indirectly by, what's his name, Rod Rosenstein or whatever his name was at Justice. If he wasn't kind of cautious and non-confrontational in how he went about doing things. He writes this report that, as far as I know, could have been written in a completely defensible way that would have had a much bigger impact in establishing the rule of law and of the Constitution, et cetera, than what he ended up doing in that report. And then, so there's weakness there. I talked about, I left out of a previous discussion of these episodes of weakness, Barack Obama, wonderful, decent man, but I don't understand how he treated the people who were so clearly acting as his enemies, as if they weren't his enemies. He was entrusted with the powers of the presidency, and he was under continued attack And he did not fight back hardly at all. And when he did, he was really good at it, but he hardly did. He ended up with almost no presidential powers that go usually with this office. He was left with doing executive actions. He couldn't get any legislation through. And then he couldn't even get his nominee for the Supreme Court to get the treatment that by norm and by law and by constitution he should have gotten. The way he stood by while Mitch McConnell and the other Republicans in the Senate basically stole a Supreme Court seat. I've always been a press the battle guy. I wrote at the time that Obama should make a huge issue of that. He should declare that the Republicans had usurped powers that were not intended with advise and consent. That they were stealing his constitutional power to be the guy who named someone to the Supreme Court. And that he take it to the Supreme Court to be decided. At the very least, even if he lost, he would have scored a lot of points, because what they did actually was unprecedented. But like Robert Mueller, Barack Obama was not looking for a fight. Let's look for the fight now. It's right out there. The lack of rising to the fight over the last 30 years is why we're in this predicament now. There's a Sufi story that has come back to my mind in these times again and again. So this holy man goes into this hut in the wilderness. There's a cartoon that went with it. I think that Indri Shah, one of his collections of Sufi stories, had this. Anyway, so he's there and he's poring over these books, and there's a fly that's flying around the little hut, and he ignores it altogether. And gradually, this fly is getting bigger and bigger until it becomes really obvious that this is not just some ordinary fly, that it is a jinn, however you say it, genie in American English, that is some kind of a force of evil. And eventually it transforms into this genie that is huge, that breaks everything apart and escapes into the world, having killed this holy man who did not pay attention to the transformations that were happening. And I think that liberal America needs to take it to the fascists now, should have taken it to the fascists all along. But now we are at this last ditch place. And I feel confident that this battle can be won. I think this showdown is a real opportunity for a decisive victory. I think that the Republican Party has swallowed Donald Trump. Donald Trump has shown his ugly face with no disguise, and that it is possible to show the American people what's really at stake in the choice between Trump and Biden, such that an overwhelming number of Americans, or at least a substantial majority, like voted in Kansas to save abortion rights, that we can get a real vote that consigns this fascist force to a much lesser position. Not only Trump being exposed for what it is, but through that, exposing the Republican Party for what it has become. It It was ugliness in the Republican Party that made Trump possible, and the ugliness in the Republican Party is also Trump's ugliness. And it is the Republican Party that allows Trump to threaten this country the way he is doing in this upcoming election. I think that the great American majority can be brought to vote to send this fascist force back into the crevices of American power, where we can't get rid of it altogether, but we can consign it to relative oblivion and at least prevent it from taking over the country. Thank you.